All right, welcome back everyone to my Tuesday talk with Brandon Potts, Building Wealth Flow, and we got a special guest. It's been a while from him. We got Chris Webb on. So, morning, fellas.
Morning.
All right, so how's everything been,
Morning.
Chris? It's been a while, so maybe quickly give my audience a little recap on who you are and I guess where you've relocated to, right?
Sure. I was out in Lynchburg, Virginia. I worked as an analyst out there, and I recently pivoted to here, and now I'm an assistant professor at a state school here in Idaho. So I moved from Virginia to Idaho to take that position. And while I was in Virginia, to 10 units total. Since then, I've kind of reevaluated my portfolio, and now we have four. I'm trying to think through three, yeah, four now. We sold six last year, and then relocated 26 from Virginia out here to Idaho. And I've been on a couple times before, but yeah, you're right. I'm very intermittent in my appearances, and I think that you had mentioned you read my post in school, and I have just been. One thing that economics has taught me is that there's such thing as opportunity cost. Me, and it's based on this, and all of our number one resource is time. So the time that I spend doing something means there's time that I'm not spending doing other things that, in my opinion, are just valued less than my priority. And for me, it's been schooling and transitioning to this new career. So welcome everybody. Thanks for back after being away for a while.
Yeah, very cool. Like I said, that post caught my attention in school, and I think Brandon also saw it. He also commented on it. So Brandon, Chris, quickly, what
Yeah, I would
was
say,
kind of a
Chris,
general,
kind
yeah,
of
general.
what you were meaning by all of that would be a good start of the conversation.
Well, I think that a lot of the highlights that we see if we go to like local groups or even go on bigger pockets, it's a fix and flips, right? Oh, I bought it for this, I added this, and then I flip it. And a lot of investors are just not there. That's not what their strategy is. And they keep reading that, and they get stuck and they say, I'm not that type of person. And I think I just wanted to just shed some light that, hey, if you guys are working in your W-2 role, you can still play this game, but we have to celebrate our wins as the wins that we have for ourselves, not the wins that are going to play in your local RIA meeting, not the wins that are going to play on bigger pockets, but the wins that you have for yourself. And ultimately, for me, it's a 10-year journey. I think I'm about 6 years in. And you know what I realized? It's still about a 10-year journey. And that's okay, because now I'm doing something not that I hate, but that I actually like. I enjoy going to work every day. And I really am doing that. That is a win for me. And when I said ultimately earlier, what I meant was at the end, the reward for me is for me and my wife. It's not for bigger kids. It's not for the local RIA meeting. And I think that some people out there, they get caught up in these things that they see, and they forget that maybe the strategy they're looking at is a different strategy, and they need to see those wins from other people as well.
Brandon, what was your kind of takeaways from what Chris posted or was talking about? I'm gonna start texting that the link to the post so people tuning in can kind of see what Chris was talking about, though.
No, I think I agree exactly what Chris's assessment. That's why I really enjoyed the post. It was good to see a post that nobody kind of has put that in writing within the group. And Chris, you write so well um, that it was good. We celebrate a different strategy, and it's not as flashy, and it's kind of behind the scenes of the growth. The wins that are happening kind of under the radar. It's that
Yeah.
it grows slowly, then suddenly. Almost like you don't see it over day to day, but in 5 years, 10 years, you really see it, and it's a different type of story of maybe the 10 years or the first 5 years of suck. A piece of that is you're making progress, but you don't see it by holding it.
Mhm.
And really celebrating not just the acquisition, but the journey of that 10 years, which is hard to kind of put in context and concrete, but it is journey of success. It just it takes a while to really see it. So that's what I enjoyed what you put out there, because that is, you're 6 years in. I'll be my 5th year of having one paying rent. July of this year, I'm starting to see evidences of the greatness of it. But to say, oh wow, I'm whatever. So let's just say it's $200 a month cash flow. Now it's 1,000. Well, I'm not there yet, but I see that path. It's almost like you're in this little hole. You're starting to see the daylight of where you can see it. You're not there, but you can see evidences of it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway for me was I kind of know how hectic things have been for you, and I know I give you a hard time for not coming to Vegas and everything, but I know life has been kind of a whirlwind for you right now. But I think part of it is like you're saying, like you're holding, in place, but at
Mhm.
the same time, you're also making moves, knowing what this 10-year journey is all about. So you're positioning yourself, so even though maybe certain things are on hold, you're not just sitting there doing nothing to the extent that things. You're pivoting and kind of positioning yourself, like you're saying, you're now at a job where you don't hate going to, you love going to, and maybe it's in some ways a step back to some extent, but it has the end goal in mind, and that's kind of why you're making a lot of these moves. Is that kind of correct what the post was about too?
Yeah, and the other thing too is one thing that really struck me, and I think I mentioned it in the post, is that when Mike was saying, "Hey, I was able to retire, and then I got bored and I got depressed," and I said, "I at the end of this, I do not want to do that." And so what I had to do, going back to opportunity cost, is I said, what do I want to do when I'm done? Because I'm holding right now, and everything was fine. I was building cash flow, building reserves, making sure that I had down payments for another purchase. But in the meantime, I'm like, it takes me a few minutes a day to review this. And for some of you out there, what I do is I basically, in some markets, you can go to Redfin, download the entire CSV. I have an Excel spreadsheet that runs all of my calculations. I upload my CSV. It tells me what the calculations are. So it takes me a minute to look at my market every day. What else am I going to do? So I said, well, maybe I need to focus on what I need to do afterwards. And so I said, I realize that I enjoy teaching. Some of you have maybe seen my old Invest LYH videos where I went cash on cash reserve. One thing I learned a long time ago is if you want to build a skill, do it on video, because you're going to watch yourself and you're going to say, man, I really suck. And you're going to get better and better and better and better. And I was able to do that from, I think my first video was maybe 15 minutes and my last one was maybe 3, because I was able to do that calculation so fast. So what I did is I said, I enjoy sharing this information and teaching it to other people. And I said, well, what kind of role can I do where I teach? And I said, oh, maybe I could teach. And I know I'm not a high school teacher. I know I'm not a middle school teacher. Can I teach college age individuals? And I said, yes. So I figured out a path. Okay, how do I do that? So the first one was for me to find the adjunct position. That takes a lot of time. So again, going back to opportunity cost, if I did that, that means I couldn't do this, this, and this. And so after a couple of years, I was able to build my resume in that industry and make that pivot. And so I think that when we think about what we're trying to do and just making sure that you have that end game in mind, it can be taking the steps today that aren't going to look like Brendan said, they're in the background. Nobody at my analyst job saw what I was doing. And my supervisor, I talked to her, had conversations about it every once in a while. Hey, a student said this, and it got me thinking about this. This publication right up here on the wall is my first publication that I had about the real estate market in Lynchburg. That became because of my side role, what people would call a side hustle. But I didn't get there because I just happened to fall into it. I had to find that opportunity. And once I saw that win and I started seeing other things just kind of cascading on top of that, I said, there's a runway here. And if I take this runway, I will be able to get to that position while I'm there, not knowing that at the end, it might not be there. Now I know it's going to be there.
Now, Chris, I love what you're describing. I do the same thing. How I know something deeply is by teaching it.
Yep.
And me teaching it helps me flesh out the wording and the descriptions and what resonates with the audience, what does not. It makes me understand what I'm teaching that over time that much better. And I'm there with you. I'm trying to figure out my path as I call it semi-retired. I'm kind of doing whatever I want. I'm doing what I want now. Yes, it is a form of work, but I love it. It doesn't feel like work. It's something I love to do.
Right.
And I'm getting paid for it. But then I'm also doing this YouTube channel and teaching these high school senior age group. I'm doing passion projects, and it's also helping me get better at describing the right path but it's making an impact. And that's where I think even Zuber, Dion, Matt, retirement is not doing nothing. Nothing is meaningless. I'm retiring and now doing what I want to do, making an impact, sharing the journey, sharing the failures, the successes. Hey, I made this mistake. Here's what I learned. Hopefully it helps you learn some things. That genuineness resonates with people that AI can never do.
Right.
AI channels can never do.
I just read an article about the guy in Florida who sold his house using AI. And then I saw a video of another real estate company that talked about all agents should be 50% of their stuff should be producing content. And I'm like, I'm very skeptical of that, because content does not trump relationships in doing transactions. I had a seller finance deal a couple of years back, and it was because of the relationship that I built with the seller, not because of anything that I published or sent out. And I just think I think the AI trap can harm people. I don't think I think it's an opportunity for people, for sure. But again, going back to opportunity costs, the more time that you're going to spend on AI is the less time that you're going to be spending on relationship building. Now, can you meld those two? Absolutely. And I don't want to kind of divulge into an AI rant or anything like that. But yeah, I can completely see what you're saying there. The relationships matter. And also, you talked about kind of bringing up the wording and stuff. I remember this is back in this is years ago. I told a student, I said, record yourself doing interview questions and then watch it. And they did that, and they said, I can't believe I touched my face. I can't believe I stuttered when I said something that I knew, because in my head, it sounded great. But what happens is you start realizing in your head, you have the ideas that you want to say, but when you get in front of an area where it is not your head, they can come out differently.
It's those, and this is a challenge we all do, especially when we're doing some form of public speaking, which recording videos is, a form of public speaking. It's getting pithy, which is being tight with your words, but hitting on point, learning how not to use too many words. And I struggle with this, and I'm working on it myself. I'm just allowing the audience to see me work it out over time. Just like anybody that has a channel, their early videos are rough, but they're willing to learn and to grow and to fail, because that's who succeeds, is not being afraid of failure, and you fail your way through to success.
That's right. Yep.
So I was saying the same thing. It's relationships. This is where AI cannot win. I'm working on buying some land right now. And part of that is building a relationship with the seller. If the seller
Mhm.
says, hey, I like that person, I want them to get the property. And if you take the other avenue where they don't like you, even if they went into contract, they will sabotage the deal because they don't have a relationship or don't
Right.
like you. And I've realized that with 15 years in real estate, I'm trying to genuinely build a relationship with the seller to find out, what do they need? What do I need? Can we put these things together so that we both get something we need? And building that relationship, it goes smoother and it usually gets to the closing table. It's a relationship business. Life
Right.
is a relationship business. I saw a graphic on Facebook and I posted. They show these different graphics of 4 different stages, and the one final stage, all this guy had was his dog and his gun. And I said, what a sad life.
Yeah.
Relationships bring meaning to life. If the only person wants to be around you is your dog, either that's a sad life.
Right.
If the only one that likes you is your dog, that's a sad life. We are a relationship. Human beings are relationship oriented, and learning skill sets in life is learning how to build relationships. You're selling yourself, even though if you're not in sales, you're always in sales.
Right.
You are selling yourself all the time and building deeper relationships, because real estate is a relationship business. The stronger team you have around you, that you all are going in alignment, you get more things done smoother.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about this question. I don't know if you guys know. Is there subtitles available during the lives? I'm
Oh,
not
I don't even
sure.
remember.
Yeah, I'll check my settings next time. I thought there was, but I do want to kind of quickly touch on some of the things you guys brought up, and I hate to do it again, but me and Cody talked about this kind of yesterday too, like communication and marketing yourself. And I gave the Thursday breakthrough accountability call a lot of credit because they're very structured. And I do see Alex here, so Alex is going to jump in, I'm sure. But they basically have, the people that come in, you have 1 minute to kind of present your uh, struggle or talking point, or what you need help on, right? So you basically, like Brandon, you're talking about, right? You have to be able to get your point across, communicate with people, and basically let them know needs and wants type of thing, right? And you have a minute. So it's, for some people it's hard, and if not, you go past that minute, you get gonged, right? You get buzzed. So I hate to give them credit, but their accountability call can be very helpful for those that maybe um, spend too much time on a certain talking point, though. But I saw Flavio mention something, and it was kind of along the lines what you're talking about too, Chris. Is Flavio says, when I left my W-2, I was depressed for 3 months. Yeah. And I think Zuber talks about that. And even he looks back and he reflects back on his starting the one rent at a time brand.
Mhm.
He wishes that he started it a lot sooner, right? Before he actually probably left his W-2, right? So that's something, I think that's what you're talking about too. Why you're doing a lot of these moves now, maybe it's putting a lot on your plate at this point, but you're looking at when you're actually retired in
Mhm.
a sense, and now things are kind of just moving on their own, right?
I
Oh
think
yeah. And
that's
if I can just mention, I went through a significant portion of depression at one point in my life. And what happened is when I went to Colorado State, my last semester there, I lost my mom. My wife lost her dad. My dad got real sick, and my wife's mom got real sick to the point where she passed away eventually as well. And then my dad passed away a few years later. And then I lost one of my cats got diagnosed with cancer. And this all happened, I would say, in a 6 to 8 week period. All the while I'm trying to graduate and figure out where I'm going to move next to finish my schooling. That was a tough time. And it took me about a year when I got my corporate role after I graduated from my grad program, driving back and forth because I was in Dallas. I lived in Frisco. I worked down in North Dallas. I think if I remember, it's the 321 or interchange or whatever. It's right there by going from not Plano, Richardson into Dallas. That's a long drive every day. And I remember driving, and I was just overwhelmed with grief. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this way? And so eventually I was able to talk to somebody about it, and they said, you have been moving so fast for so long that you weren't able really to understand what was going on because of all the things that you had to get set up for the next part of your life, the next part of your life. Going through that, it stuck. And when Mike said that, and now we can see that Flavio's saying it here, I don't want to go through that again. So that's that really led to me saying, you need to make sure that you have something, because I can't go through that again. That was a tough time. Anybody who has gone through that, it is not fun. And Mark, you and I have talked in the past where I use a term a lot, or a phrase a lot. The only way out is through. And I had to get through that. And thank God I got through it. But I don't want to go through it again. So if there's a way that I can address it up front so I don't have to go through it, it just kind of made sense for me. And honestly, I have to say that, like, in the beginning, I knew that I wanted to kind of do this. Not until I took a few steps did I really start seeing, okay, this will make sure that in the end, that I won't go through that again. So it's just kind of being upfront about that. And if anybody has experienced it out there in the past, it's very tough to go through those bouts in life, and you just have to get through it.
Brandon, anything you want to add before I ask Chris a question that Harrison has?
No, I would, as I'm starting to really see retirement, early in life, you think, oh, I can't wait to retire and do nothing. And then I don't know what happens in your body, I don't know, in your mind, and you start thinking when you're almost there. I watched it especially with my wife as she was about to fully retire. Literally, I saw panic on her face of purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when let me just tell the story. And I physically saw it in her, because we had our real estate sales company. We were selling it. My wife was working in that company. We're in Hawaii, right around the corner from Mark having to bail him out of jail. He called us up. So we're getting him bailed out. So, and here the business. So we sold the business while we're in Hawaii. It's closed and we're done to allow them to transition with us not being there. And watching that's the only thing I can describe, real fear and panic on my wife of what is her purpose now. Even though we still had kids at home, she loved having that purpose of being, of working. When that happened, we had an employee on our property management company leave and resign. When I said, hey, do you want to take that position? You would naturally think, oh, I don't want to work again. No, she was like, yes, because then she had some purpose. And I watched her spirit change. I think for me, as I'm almost at the end of working, even 20 hours a week, my purpose is now making an impact. So I'm not as afraid of full retirement, because I'm going to be doing something on my terms and making an impact. I feel like we want those things. Doing nothing, if you look at the group that quote unquote retires and does nothing, they typically they die quickly.
True.
But if you have some form of deep purpose, I don't know what else to describe, but you live longer because you have a purpose in what you're doing. And this YouTube channel and me teaching is my next path. If I'm doing no hard, whatever you want to call it, hard labor, I will be doing that.
So Harrison is asking though, Chris, he says, where did it go? So Chris is selling out of Virginia entirely. It is a tough market out here. Are you changing your buy box?
I am changing my buy box. I am not selling out of Virginia completely. I have 3 there now, and I have 1 in Florida. And so based on my experience in Lynchburg and my experience in Tallahassee, I'll be shifting all of my resources towards Tallahassee. You can thank a little bit of Zach for that, because Zach says he will not manage my property. So I had to go through multiple property managers in Lynchburg, and I finally have a good one. I'm not going to, like, he's a great property manager, but I have never had an issue with my property manager in Florida. She is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to give her more business.
I see Millennial Mike tuning in. He said he's not surprised Brandon had to bail me out of jail, and he said he would have let me sit over the weekend.
Was I supposed to share that, Mark? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have shared that.
Well,
Mark, what'd you get arrested for? Being a firefighter in a police officer zone?
No, I probably got arrested for trying to rip off Brandon's fake Aloha shirt. So you shouldn't be wearing a long sleeve Aloha shirt in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But this is not tax advice, but you should go check with your tax profession. But Enticing Clan says how to pay upcoming expenses before the end of the tax year to increase deductions in the current year.
I would say talk to your accountant.
Yeah, how to pay.
I don't quite understand exactly what he's asking.
Increase how to pay upcoming expenses before the end of the tax year to increase deductions.
Expenses paid.
So it's prepaying expenses that haven't incurred, and so I think that's a challenge in accounting. Because you have to make, if you're running it like a business, you have to make a decision if your expenses are in real time or they're accruing. You have, this is some accounting things that I understand. Either they're accruing or they're in real time, and how you do it. But you'd have to talk to a CPA on that to make sure you're doing it correct and not getting yourself in a bind.
Can someone take care of this police officer in the chat? He said I was arrested for truancy. They thought I was a teenager skipping school. So Jason C says, I hear you, Chris. In 2020, my wife and my mom passed 3 weeks apart, both unexpectedly. I was in a bad spot for a couple of years.
It's tough. Death really causes a lot of things. And if it's somebody so close to you, I was talking to my wife last night, and I'm like, because my dad's gone now, and it doesn't matter what happens in life. Nobody could say that they were proud of me like my father could. I don't have that anymore. That's tough. And when you have that immediate after, it can be a very tough time. So anybody,
I'm there with you, Chris.
Yeah,
I lost my dad in 22 now. Actually, this month, just a couple of days ago, was 3 years. I shared that at the conference. That was something that made an impact, that he worked all his life until the last days fighting for his life. And I thought, I want to have time to enjoy some things and make right decisions, get to that financial freedom number maybe a little bit more urgently, so that I could have a season to really enjoy some time with the kids, with down the road, the grandkids, with freedom of more freedom of travel, just having some of that, because my father went from working to, he was bedridden in a week. And he had serious cancer and passed away in 2 months. And it just made an impact. And I'm there with you. Not having your dad there, I didn't realize the impact of not having him there. I know exactly what you're saying.
Different. And they say that, like, you're never going to be the same, and you never are. And it just hits at different points. And one thing I will say about my dad, though, because my mom passed away early, and my dad lived a couple of years, like he lived about 6 years afterwards. And I truly believe he moved in with my sister, and her daughter had a daughter. So it was his granddaughter, his great granddaughter, I guess. And he got to play with her every day. I believe that extended his life. And it made me realize, because Rachel and I don't have kids. I don't think they're on our plan. We're both aging up, so I just don't know if we're going to have kids. But it made me realize the more that I can get involved with youthful individuals, the more my life will extend. And Brandon, you're talking about with your grandkids, that is going to extend your life.
Oh yeah. I mean, you hear even, our grandparents, our parents that become grandparents, they say they love the season of grandkids is even more enjoyable. And now I was talking to my wife last night, when we first got married, I said I wanted one child with her, and we ended up with three. And I even, with this exact conversation, I said I would not change anything at all. I never knew the joy as much as I know now with those kids, and soon to be, having those grandkids will come soon. My brother is having grandkids now, and he's talking about how much fun it is. It'll happen in its season, but finding purpose once you're into a form of freedom and retirement is important. That's what we're all talking about, is that and the season, going back to the original discussion, that hold season. Yes, it's not as hard as it's a different skill. The acquisition has a different skill, and it seems more aggressive and more things going on and more moving parts. The season where it slows down, where you're stabilizing it and optimizing it, where there's less work, you've got to find some other purposes during that time, and realizing that it is growing and you're making it's happening. The good things are happening in that hold season that we should celebrate, but then give you time to prepare for the season when you have complete financial freedom. What is that purpose? This school group is filling that with a lot of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Sharing with each other. We can have fun kidding each other. We're getting to know each other, but also a group that celebrates the successes, not somebody that's wanting to pull you down and see you fail, but that we're seeing each other succeed and celebrating, or teaching something that prevents a failure. Those are powerful things too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I don't know why it took Chris forever to join school. I mean, even though I pestered him for about 2 years, but he finally joined. I think he's enjoying it, but he's contributing quite a bit. So it's good to see. But Josh does make a great point. He does say kids cause the gray hair, but they enrich your life. Yeah.
True.
And that's what I tell mine all the time. Y'all caused these gray hairs. I didn't have them before you. You're the cause of.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Rachel and I, we have an agreement that if we get to an age where we know that we're not going to have children, we're just going to adopt a 18-year-old who's pregnant and go right into the grandparent phase.
There you go.
No gray hair and all.
Enticing Clan is there any best approach much more better than acting as a LAN partner or facilitator?
In what context? Is this investing in new builds?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I'll try to add another comment on that.
Yeah, Enticing Clan, if you are there, can you kind of maybe clarify what you're asking a little bit? But I know we've been touching on the hold portion, and how some of us are adding things on our plate, even though it's a lot right now, but we're looking at the end goal of things. But everyone talks about the buying part. Everyone gets excited about buying properties and things like that. And I know each phase has its own importance, but do you think the buy or the hold is probably more important in this journey?
I would say neither one is more important. They're just different.
Right.
You know, I am working on a video on the 5-year mark. Millennial Mike has done multiples that I really have commented and enjoyed of his early acquisitions and where they are today. That is that discussion of the whole period. And I think there's fewer of those kind of videos,
Mhm.
but it's needed for all of us that do believe in hold. Of yes, most of the videos are the acquisition side, but I think talking through some of the journey, I'm going to do the same thing as Mike did just recently on multiple videos he's done. I've got a plan for a video with my portfolio 5 years in, talking about the early numbers, where they are today, what I've learned in the journey. I think those are rarer videos, but I think are very appreciated for the
Mhm.
whole group. They want to hear that. It's almost sometimes it's, oh, I needed to do that. I didn't think about that. Or, oh, that confirms some of my feelings. I'm not odd. These are the right feelings. I'm not crazy.
Any
And I would
thoughts on that,
say,
Chris? Yeah.
if I would add to that, I completely agree. I think they're too distinct. I think that in it, what gets in trouble sometimes is on certain platforms. The hold part is, oh yeah, and I held it for 4 years. Oh yeah, and I held it for 6 years, or I've owned it for 6 years. But we don't go into how many times did we have to kick somebody out and all that in that hold time. That's a whole set to the viewer or the reader. That's a whole separate conversation. That's considered an eviction, right? But the stabilization is part of that hold situation. I mean, we've had some horrible tenants in many of my properties, but we've also had some horrible property managers, but that's still part of that hold process. And I think that sometimes it just gets lost because everybody can practice and analyze how to do the buy. You can't practice how to do the hold. It's yours.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week, Chris. Little things I'm learning right now. I was the term I would call it is max market rents. Well, I was trying to maybe push the envelope a little bit on a property, and I found I had more turnover versus let me go down just a hair, 5%, a little bit, just a tad lower, but my bottom line overall revenue was higher versus trying to push the envelope, and I had a little bit more turnover and a little bit longer to rent it. I chose to go back a little bit, learned that I could pick a better tenant and I could hold on to a better tenant, being just a tad under full max market rents.
Yep.
I accomplished so much more than trying to push the envelope. And that had to happen. That's something you learn over time through the hold period. And sharing those journeys with all of us, that's important. That you see these certain channels that it is all the acquisition side, and
Mhm.
I was able, it's almost like a vanity metric. I was able to get 2,200. You only got 2,100. I got 22 22,250. Well, then they ended up losing them versus your guy that got 2,100 and kept
Right.
their tenant for 3 years.
And if I can just one last thing about this, Mark, is a lot of that comes down to what I said earlier. At the end of the day, am I competing with the guy who got 22 versus my 21, or am I competing with my 21 at the end? The 21 is what I will walk away with. That's a great story that they can talk about. That's what they're going to walk away with. And what did we learn recently with the interview that Dion did with that other gentleman? Maybe he has a bunch of good buys. Is it working out for him in the end? And I think sometimes we look at these people online, and I think I mentioned it on a video recently with you, Mark, where are we asking these people to define what we really want? You have to define that, and then you have to execute it.
For some reason, I think they knew food would get Chris excited, but Millennial Mike does a super chat. Thanks, Mike. He says, "What's more important in a peanut butter and jelly, the PB or the jelly?" Answer: they're both integral for the whole. Buy or hold, you must do both.
Yep.
And then Alex, the accidental investor, though, follows up with, "What about the bread? Trying to hold it all together."
Well, I would say the bread is one Randall at a time, Dion, Millennial Mike, Mark, and the other bread is SKOOL.
I knew if it was food, you'd have a great way to relate it to this topic.
You go to any of those places in Vegas?
No, because I was waiting for you to come, and you had all
Oh.
these places to try and eat and lined up for us, and then you canceled on us. Josh Burdick says you're competing with what works best for you. Like Zuber says, know thyself. Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. I think
Absolutely.
know thyself is the one thing that a lot of people are starting to take away, and it's really trying to understand what fits best for them, their lifestyle. And like I said, I think that's what's great about SKOOL. We talked about it yesterday, me and Cody also, is that it's the one thing great about this community is in SKOOL, you're going to find people doing different things. Like Brandon's doing, build to rent. There's people doing short-term rental. It's not like there's one niche. It's not like just a
Right.
sub two community where people are focusing on one strategy. So you're seeing a lot of different people doing different things out there. And like Brandon said, no one is really competing with each other. Everyone wants everyone to do well and succeed.
Well, I think it's been said before, there's no one right way. There's one right way for you. Each has their own purpose. What Cody does at 25 versus even me here at 54, we've got to play it it might be something similar, but it's a little bit different. It might, it doesn't repeat. It might rhyme in some of the strategy, but it's also some context of time frames too.
Absolutely. I do want to remind everyone, Wednesdays I go live with Joel and Lauren, and we're bringing different SKOOL members on. So actually tomorrow, the one and only all-nighter Hider will be joining us, and he's going to be talking about, I think, something we're touching on here. We touched on it Monday about communication marketing. We're going to be talking about networking and kind of finding friends online, or YouTube connections and networking. So Hyder's great at that. So Hyder's going to join us tomorrow, I believe, from Gary, Indiana, at one of their properties, and he's going to be live streaming from there. So that should be fun. I know, Chris, you got a hard stop. What was that, Chris?
Future home of the Bears.
Come on, man. That's I don't want to keep you off. I can let me see where
the Bears Stadium jail.
It is not happened yet. It is not happened yet. How to use YouTube. Yep, Heidi's going to talk about how he leverages YouTube. He's been a big part of the Rebel Capitalist group, and to that extent. And it's funny. I heard me and Brandon were talking about this before we went live, and I think you guys were touching on this AI and also authenticity and stuff like that. But Simon was going live yesterday, and he was saying, or the uneducated economist, I should say, was live yesterday, and he was talking about how he feels like his videos aren't getting out there as much now. He looks at the algorithm and maybe the viewership, and he feels like the AI videos are getting more reach. But it was interesting when he was talking about that. Gary Bears, knock it off, folks.
What I mentioned. I would go back to mention what I said of the real estate video I saw recently that said 50% of real estate agents should do content. I don't know. Is the reach still there? Is it worth doing more content on the one hand versus building or maintaining and building more relationships on the other? I don't see that. I'm very skeptical of that. Gary Bears. I like
just
that.
So you know, the Dallas Cowboys are not in Dallas. They're in Arlington.
They're in Frisco. They were 5 blocks from my house.
Yeah, the headquarters are, but the stadium's in Arlington, but it's still called the Dallas Cowboys.
That's right.
I know you have a hard stop, right, Chris, and I do want to kind of also touch on. We kind of mentioned, and I posted it on Facebook, and Zuber's been talking about it too, but Nick Gurley, Reventure Consulting, one of the housing doomers out there, posted on X that he bought a home. He purchased a home. And I know Brandon commented on that and things like that. So do you guys have any thoughts about that? Brandon, maybe you can go first.
Well, I shared and I used an example that I thought was reasonable. I said, okay, in 2021, you paid 400,000. Let's just assume you're getting financing. So I use 2.5% interest on 400,000. And I look at the total over 30 years versus you bought it for 300, just like he said, he saved 100. So then he paid 300. Now the rate's 5.99. If you take all principal and interest, one at 400 at 2.5% interest and one at 300 at 6% interest, net, he paid 80,000 more for the property with principal and interest, but he bought it at 300. Who won? He didn't. He lost. He paid more. Now, I also said maybe he paid cash because of all the fear videos he's created and extracted money for fear, but yet all the people listening probably are financing and they're losing. That's the only way he wins, is by extracting the money from his videos, paying cash.
So maybe before Chris comments also. So yeah, so he somebody reshared his post on X and they were basically saying bro literally took the money he makes from telling the world the housing market is doomed and buys a house with it. And then Nick Gurley replied, yep, called it and capitalizing on it, as should everyone else. Chris, you got any thoughts on a doomer buying a home?
Yeah, I think exactly what Brandon said. And I think about that we all have seen out there that looks like this. And then he's at like last place. He got the award. And that's like him buying the house 100,000 below. The guy who was in first place bought it in 2021 and had all that appreciation, had all that cash flow. I just that guy, every time I see him, because it's not that he is in my algorithm, but a lot of people I know share some things, and I'm like, how can this guy? He's been so wrong for so long. And then Melody is the other one. She just.
Oh, she was on Bigger Pockets. I just saw that Bigger Pockets episode, and Melody Wright is talking to.
And there was a lady out in Texas. I remember she was on and one time she was like, "Oh, Airbnb is going to be closing in Plano. This is such relief." And I said, "Are you mean to tell me that entry level homes are Airbnbs in Plano, Texas?" And she was all upset. Some guy reached out to me, say house. I'm like, come on, those prices. These people just don't understand the basics of markets. I showed you guys a book earlier that I used on my thing, The Wealth of Nations. It just celebrated 250th anniversary. In that book, Adam Smith is taking a full task and breaking it down into miniature tasks that allow for productivity to increase. Basically called it the division of labor. If you take the division of labor and apply it to markets in general, like the real estate market, from price 0 foreclosure or $1 that you're giving it to your nephew to 100 million mansion, and you break it down in the same way, you divide that market up into entry level chunk, into move up chunk. You take a look at that and realize a lot of these situations, these people just don't look beneath.
They don't understand. And what I took was statistics in college, and the good term that was it Jason Hartman, compared to what, and the law of small numbers.
Yes.
Michael talked about that too. It's understanding compared to what, and also the law of small numbers.
That's a big thing.
If I have
compare,
if I have one of something and it went to 2, I had 100% growth. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm sorry. I think my video kind of came back in a little loopy, and I thought you had stopped. The comparing it is a huge deal. A lot of time classes about allowing for marijuana to be legal or illegal, and everybody said, "Oh, well, Colorado raised taxes, And I go, "Well, it's funny you say that because I lived in Colorado, and the tax revenue that they received was less than because most of the tax in Colorado were because of the oil industry. Are we supposed to associate those two? So you need to tell me, is it compared to what?" And then the other thing I also in this respect, because you're talking about comparison, well, what is the tax from people who bought it, who lived in Wyoming? And if it's legal in Wyoming, what does the tax base in Colorado do? Well, it drops because they're not traveling anymore. So that's an excellent assessment. Always asking compared to what.
Jason is saying he's in Chicago, so he says our governor wants to double our property taxes to keep the bears, so Indiana can have them. Charles McCune says great time to buy if Bigger Pockets is pushing Melody. And Josh Burdick says he saw on Saks Realty they had Resi Club on and he didn't watch it. Yeah, Saks Realty is somewhat of a doomer. Yeah, Adam Taggart is a close friend, I believe, of Melody Wright. But Gus also says people be talking out of their ass when it comes to not buying a home, honestly. But also, Brandon, you touched on it last week. Like I said, your main strategy, main focus is build to rent, right? But you also touched on you are thinking about selling a property.
I presented one, and this was the first time I'd ever shared it. Yes, I keep all of mine. So I'll just be honest. This might be hard for me to do. I was going to possibly build 3. If there's anybody that has interest, I would build one. I'm still going to keep 2 of mine. I will never have one that I don't have one that I'm selling that I've had for a while. I would just build one for someone at a price that's below appraisal. I know the numbers and it would cash flow for someone. So it's not something I've been holding on to and selling. It would be building one for someone. I'm still going to build a couple, but I might build a third one, keep the 2 and sell something I'm building for somebody else if they wanted to buy it. If not, I'll keep it. I win either way. I just was offering that out there. If somebody had interest, I would build one for someone. This would be, it's a little bit of long-term play. It would be this year starting construction. It wouldn't be ready till next summer or late spring. But if somebody had any interest, give me a call or contact me. I'm willing to discuss it and see if this works. This is the first time I've ever even approached that. It's more like being a builder and selling a house, but I know the numbers of what rents would be, and I know how an investor would analyze it and could walk through that with them and see if they have interest.
Anyone out there is interested, reach out to Brandon and maybe you can have a conversation with him. Chris, let's wrap us up with Trade Betters asking, Chris, tell us what the economy will look like in the next 24 months.
Well, you can read some of that stuff on my Substack, EconWeb. And I did discuss about how there is a push from the current administration to bring manufacturing back. Will it happen? I know it's happening in Boise, but then I read in the paper the other day that HP is consolidating some of their manufacturing, and they're taking a plant outside of Boise and moving it to Oregon. So I think that it could happen, but then we have things like Iran, which shocks the economy. So a lot of these things are kind of, we can make these predictions, but as in real life, these shocks matter. Even with today, we were talking, the fuel prices have just gone up so fast, so quickly. It's tough to make it to make a prediction about the economy based on fuel prices. Fuel goes into everything. I know a couple of years ago, Mike talked about how it's not necessarily built into CPI, Well, every metric that's in CPI, it has oil involved in it because it has transportation costs for the most part. So it's kind of built in, it's kind of not built in. And if those prices increase, that can be tough. Now, one thing I will say is I think that a lot of people there are feeling that the market is ready to explode. I don't know how Iran has played into that yet. That is we have to see how that plays out over the next few weeks.
Yeah,
I think
that's the
there's
wild
going to be a
card.
pivot point where we're going to realize it'll wrap up. Exactly. And if it does, that's going to be good. But there's also residuals that we just do not know. A lot of uncertainty.
Uncertainty causes everybody to pause because you can't make solid, predictable predictable decisions.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to share, I did contact Michael Zuber, and I'm going to bring a different perspective versus the three amigos that you become a small E entrepreneur. So we're going to record a video too on that discussion that you do become a smaller business owner, and the real estate is the product. And I'm going to walk through the different conversations. The language we use are financial statements. They are on the financial statements and begin running it. You are becoming a small E entrepreneur. An investor is very passive. You are running a small real estate business.
Yeah, no one even mentioned St. Patty's Day. I didn't even realize it, but no green beer jokes so far.
I'm wearing green.
Oh, I can't even tell, man.
I would
lazy.
usually wear Dak's hat, but
oh, okay. Josh Burdick
green.
says Iran and summer travel is a definite wild card. Absolutely. But Brandon, Alex is asking, would you be willing to include the buyer on the process as a mentor, if you will? I believe on the property you're willing to sell, you said.
So basically mentor them through this purchase and what all happens I think is what he's
talking about the build. So your process from start to finish. If so someone maybe commits now to being the end buyer, would you mentor them on this process of your build to rent model?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I don't see why not. If it's somebody out of town, it's going to be more challenging for them to get there and see all of it, but I can walk through a lot of that.
Josh Burdick is saying Brandon should call it the E Amigos, E for entrepreneur. Yeah.
Hey, when we use the term, this is the year of the operator, what is that?
Remind everyone, Dion goes live 4 p.m. Pacific. Today is his Tuesday live stream. Like I said, I'll be here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, with All Nighter Hider and Joe and Lauren. Any final words from you guys? Like Chris, like I said, I have no idea where to follow you. You have like 5 different handles: Invest LYH, Econ Web, all these different things. So where do you want people
Econ Web
to?
is my best bet right now.
All right, Econ
Substack
Web
/ Web. Yeah, ECONWEBB.
Okay, Chris is also in school, so if you haven't connected with him,
I will publish
there.
much more in the summer than I will now, but yeah.
Brandon, any final words from you then?
I think we've discussed a lot of it.
All right. I know Chris, you had a hard stop, so yeah, let's just wrap it up here. Well, Chris, if you have to bounce, just bounce. Thanks for joining us last minute. But I guess Charles is asking, Brandon, how about I pay down payment and you sell it after you're done? All right, Chris, thanks for jumping on, man.
I guess I'm trying to understand what he's saying.
I think he's just saying, I guess, pay the down payment and you sell it after you're done.
Charles, you'll have to get in touch with me. Explain what you're thinking on that.
I guess he gets the profit, like he's buying it. He putting no. How about I pay down payment? He's talking Charlesanese again. So I think how about I think he's talking about taking the profits if you sell.
Oh, I bet. Oh no, I'll take the profits. This is my, I understand what I'm doing. I don't need that.
Deja vu. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you here tomorrow when Hyder's on the live stream. But yeah, man, it's always fun catching up with you. I know you're busy. You got a title company coming over to close
Here in
on
about
something.
30 minutes or so, we're refinancing 2 of our previous builds, and it's going to end up. Charles, I see what you're saying. I don't need the seed money. I've got it. But I appreciate the offer on this.
I think he's also talking about the process of it, like give you the seed money to have skin in the game, and then learn your process, and then you guys split. I don't know. That's just what
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
picking up, but yeah, always a fun time catching up, man. Can't wait to see your video with the or talking about the entrepreneur side of things. But I will see you next week. Everyone, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on Dion's live later today. All right, thanks, man.